Hey guys, welcome back to Movie Files. Elliott and Morgan here to give you guys our thoughts and our breakdown of chapters 7, 8, and 9 of Stranger Things season 2. So let's just jump right into it. We got The Lost Sister, which was chapter 7. Initial thoughts.
I liked it. I thought it was good. The more I think about it, the more I like it. At first, I wasn't super thrilled about it. I guess I'm so used to seeing our old crew, and this episode was really just centered around Elle, but then also 8 and her crew. So you got a different side, but I do think that this episode was very, it was needed. Yeah. It was very emotional for both 11 and 8, Callie. So yeah, I think that it really set the tone for what we're going to see in later seasons.
Definitely. And to your point, this was a great setup episode, not for just this particular season, but for seasons to come. They brought up that there's other potential babies that were affected by or was brought into the laboratory, like Elle and 8.
That may still be alive.
Yeah, we got that Dr. Brenner might be still alive.
Yeah, he might still be alive, which could be a game changer.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that you brought up was, the differences of the two. Callie brought up that she had moments where she met someone, but obviously she's become this kind of cold-hearted killer, where Elle, she was actually kind of groomed into Hopper and the rest of the crew.
She was shown real love.
Yeah, so you see those two flip sides of the coin, which I thought was played out really beautifully. And I think, like you said, initially when we saw the episode, it was kind of like, compared to the other 6, it wasn't as great, but then the more we thought about it, it was a really great episode to kind of set up things.
Because when you think about it, it's like, yes, we absolutely, everyone, I don't think I've met one person that does not like Stranger Things.
Except for maybe your dad.
Oh yeah, my dad thinks it's scary. Yeah, I forgot about that. He's weird. But anyway, I don't think there's really anyone that doesn't like it, but we cannot have the same song and dance. It just, and there were a lot of similarities to season 1 in season 2. But I think that they're going to be kind of taking a different route going forward. Yeah. And I think that this was the perfect way to really show the fans, there's more to this world than what we're seeing. So I thought it was just a perfect way. And it was really great because that's really all we got. After this episode, we don't get any more of 8. So it's like really, we see her in the beginning and then we see her in episode 7. And that's it. But I do not think that that's the end of it. I think there's going to be more to come. And I also think that we're going to see more with Terry, 11's mom. So I'll be excited for that in the next season.
Yeah, so like you said, great setup episode. It might be interesting to see how 8 comes back into the storyline. Maybe she does see where Elle was coming from, and maybe they band together to find those other missing children rather than killing the people that did it wrong. Maybe they can do good with their powers versus, murdering. Obviously, they did wrong things, but at the end of the day, justice, you can't be the judge, the jury, and executor.
Well, and I think too, they realize, I think that 8 is going to realize, how great that was for her to meet Elle. It was really great for both of them, and I think that they're going to realize, what, we got to get back together because there are other people out there just like us that really need that community as well. Because just imagine, going through life and not having anyone that can really relate to what you're going through. So I think that that's going to be really important going forward.
Yeah, and then some other positives before we head on to chapter 8 was, we're big Star Wars fans, so when we saw those little Star Wars nods, when you have 11 kind of doing her Darth Vader impression, which was so cool. And then you see the training between 8 and 11 where 8 shows her how to control her powers, very similar to Yoda showing Luke how to use his powers. So kudos to the writers, again, showing another cool reference to the 80s.
Yeah, so. And I think it's going to be all about focus, and I think it's going to be really cool because if they can really master their powers, and if Elle can really control and just get a focus on it, how much good can she do? I think it's going to be really cool to see that going forward.
Definitely. So overall, another great episode by the writers and the creators of Stranger Things, but on to chapter 8. So
which was, I think, his favorite chapter.
So guys, stay tuned for chapter 8.
All right, guys, we are back with Stranger Things 2, chapter 8, and this one was titled The Mind Flayer. So let's go ahead, kick things off. What were your thoughts?
So before I get into my thoughts on the actual episode, I just have to say this was my favorite episode, not only of this season, but from season 1, which I'm a huge fan of season 1. But this episode, Man, we had action, we had horror, we had
a real
legit moments where we were on the couch just like not knowing what's going to happen next, and we lost a pretty pivotal character, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. You know, you thought that he was maybe a bad guy, but he ended up being a hero. Bob, who I'm speaking of. So, I mean, the episode picks up right where chapter 6 left off, which we see the demons coming out of the
demo dogs.
The demo dogs, as Dustin named them, which was a funny moment. But we see them coming out of the upside down, and we see. I mean, it's just so much went down, and that the first beginning moments of the episode, which was just. Again, you just feel those
chaos.
alien
I mean,
vibes.
That's really what it is. That's the only way to describe it. Is it was chaotic this episode, and from the jump. So, I would definitely agree. It's definitely one of my more favorite episodes as well. But you just see, I mean, everyone in that lab pretty much is dead.
Taken out.
They're gone.
And even before we get into the really high action moments, we get the little quiet moment. We've been asking for Billy. What's going on with Billy? Where is his parents? So we finally get that little moment in the episode before we really get into the action where Billy's going to go out on a date, and he runs into his mom and dad, and you see that. And not an excuse for his behavior.
It's his stepmom. So it's his stepmom and then his real dad.
His real dad, yeah. We see that his real dad is
not good to him. And the stepmom just literally sits back and allows it to happen, which unfortunately happens more often than not. But you finally see, not that it gives him any reason, but you understand why he is the way he is. Towards
Max. And I guess since we saw that moment, I guess question for you, do you feel any different about Billy as far as what we can get from him in the season to come? Do you have any remorse for his father's behavior and how he acts towards Max?
I definitely feel bad for him, but I don't think that it justifies the way he treats Max. Max. I still think that there's more to the story, and I still think that we're going to continue to learn kind of the deal. With why they had to even go to Indiana
Hawkins,
from California. We still don't know this, so I think we're going to.
Well, I think they mentioned they wanted a fresh start, but there's probably more to.
I think there's more to the story, and you had that whole little sequence where it's like, well, why are we here? It's because of you. So I really think that there's more layers to that. But no, I do not think it justifies the way he treats Max.
You see, we have maybe a Steve moment with Billy. He'll redeem himself next year.
I think he will. But Steve was not nearly as bad as Billy.
It's things like that where we get an action-packed episode, but we can pick out a little moment like that and all this chaos where they do still build on characters and to things to come. So after we get that moment, we see that Steve and Dustin are all still together looking for these demons to take out. And I'll just go right into it. We're in the lab, and like you said, it's just mad chaos. They're taking over the lab. They're taking out all the soldiers. We get a moment where Dr. Sam Owens and
he redeemed himself for me this episode. Yeah. I was a little leery of him. I didn't really trust him, and I don't think really Hopper or Joyce trusted him. That's why they didn't bring Will initially. Yeah. But he did redeem himself, and then also I think we had a moment where Joyce had to make a decision with her son. Mike is like, dude, he is a spy. Like, we need to knock him out. And Joyce, there's just this moment where she's like, I can't do this to my kid. And then she finally realizes, like, what's going to be best for us is if we do this. So it just started off with a bang.
Yeah, and I mean, we see, and it's just still, like, again, this is like a suspenseful action horror movie. We see that Nancy and Jonathan is there, and then we see that they run into Dustin. I mean, it was just, you just get those goosebumps when you see all your favorite characters back together.
Because they've been split up a lot
all the season, exactly. So seeing all that go down was just so great. But we'll get into the most emotional moment of the episode where, Bob, the brain, tells him that he's going to go ahead and help him out, get the doors unlocked, which he do. But, I mean, I knew it was going to happen because as soon as he turned around and smiled, you just knew it. But it was still it's very few shows that can get a little emotional grip out of me. But at that moment, I was like, wow, they pull at your heartstrings at that moment. You really feel. And it was a moment where I thought, maybe he was just going to get stabbed. Harper was going to shoot him. Hopper was going to shoot the demon. Yeah, get him off of him. But no. And they go back to it. That's another great thing about the show. They go back and show you that Bob is not coming back from this. They ate him. And that was just a great moment for Joyce, seeing her taking that in. It was just, the show just does a great job. And not only, we didn't get much of Bob, but I know the moments that we got with him, you were a little leery of his motives.
I didn't really trust him, but he was a good guy. He is Bob the hero.
I mean, when we go back and binge this, you'll just feel bad for Bob because it was like he was genuinely a nice guy.
And I probably felt even worse because Elliott was trying to make me feel bad. And then I was like, okay, guys, this is not a documentary.
I mean, he's Rudy.
This is a TV show.
The guy
so
is Rudy.
It's not real.
He can't be bad.
But he was a little weird.
No, he led Frodo to destroy the ring, Morgan. He can't be a bad guy.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, yes. That was such a really emotional moment. And kudos to the writers for making us... I mean, again, Bob wasn't in it as much, but to get that emotion out of us and to execute
Somebody had to go, though. Somebody had to.
Yeah, that was definitely,
Bob was kind of a throwaway character, and that's what they did, I think. So.
Well, it just makes it even more... I know you like Hop and Joyce get together. It just makes it easier for him, I guess, right?
Yeah, but now I don't want them to get together because I was sad.
Yeah. So as we get, on the back half of the episode, not only do we get an alien vibe, but then we get kind of this Exodus vibe where you have... They take a Will into the cabin and they're trying to just get the demon out of him and kind of get information from him. But
at that point they're trying to get information out of him. It's more like an interrogation.
Oh yeah.
And they're trying to displace him, put him in a spot where he doesn't know where he is.
Yeah.
And Hopper realizes that Will is connecting with them through Morse code.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Although there were points where like everyone left the little shack and went into the house and like was doing the Morse code together. It was a little sequence. It was really cool. They did Should I Stay or Should I Go, which was paying homage I think to the first season.
And also too paying homage to the moment they see the Morse code, but the phone. I know at first you were like he knows the phone, but just think about it. In season one, Joyce, she had to get that phone, so he knows what that phone sounds like. So I thought that was another callback to season one, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, but
from the beginning to end, this was, like, for me, like I said, the best episode they have delivered. Not saying the other ones were, underperforming as far as what they've given us, but this was the most action-packed episode we got.
Well, and I think, though, with this episode that is so different from 1 through 7 is you finally had everyone together.
Exactly.
So it was the first time where everyone was together, and I think that's what gets you so pumped up and amped and just so ready to go. So...
And that last moment, too, when we get Elle comes, finally saves the day. That was literally just the best moment in the world. Seeing Elle come and take out the monster and that, them reuniting Mike and Elle for the first time was, again, kudos to the creator of the show, getting all that emotion. We love these characters. We are down for whatever.
We're dedicated to them,
And that was just a great moment. You got great moments from Steve, Dustin. I mean, from top to bottom, great performance. So I have to say, this was an A++ episode for me when it comes to Stranger Things. Everything that they do well, they just put it all in one episode, which I love. So with that, on to Chapter 9.
All right, guys, we are back with our final chapter, Chapter 9. I know there will be tears, but this one was titled The Gate.
So The Gate, we got our season finale, and it was worth every minute of it from beginning, middle, end. So at the very beginning, we see that, Hopper has told, Mike that he knew where Elle was. He had her, and that was a pretty cool moment because, again, these kids, man, they're way beyond their years. Just the emotional levels and we haven't gotten that much of Mike. I mean, and it was due, right? Because they had to give more screen time to Will, which, oh my gosh, if they nominate that kid, especially this episode, he has a moment where it was just phenomenal acting. But, we didn't get much of Mike, but that emotion that he was able to show in front of Hopper was great. That moment they shared.
Yeah, the anger, and you knew it was coming. I mean, I was just waiting because I'm like, Hopper, I mean, there's no way that they're going to be able to get around that. They're going to find out.
Yeah, so once we get that, we start to piece, they start to get everything together. They figure that they have to get this demon out of Will, and Joyce brings up the point that they've been listening to everything he says, so they take it upon themselves to kind of have a cabin in the woods type of moment where they take Will to the cabin.
Because they have to displace him. They cannot have him in an area that he's
familiar with, right? So I know that was your favorite moment because she runs cold, so she loves when
when I saw those heaters, I was like, oh my god, this is what I dream of.
So we see that scene, and also that scene just in general, how it played out. Again, this show just pays so much homage to just movies that really bring that horror vibe, and you really didn't know what was going to happen. Like I was telling Morgan, like maybe Joyce has to sacrifice herself. Maybe the host has to, find a host
because you were thinking, where is it going to go?
Yeah, and good thing that Nancy was there because she thought quick on her feet and was able to really ignite things. So I thought that whole scene played out very well. Then we have, while that's going on, we have Elle and Hopper. They have a moment in the car where they kind of apologize to each other. They acknowledge they were both being stupid. It was a great moment to see that, that they really connected. He tells her about Sarah, which was another nice moment to season 1. He's basically telling her, he lost his child. And he looks at Elle as, not a replacement, but as a daughter. Someone. Yeah, exactly. So that was again. This show finds, even though we have all this awesome action and horror, they find these little moments to really bring out the characters and really make you care for the characters. And just, again, a great moment. But as we have that going on.
And then we had our bench warmers.
We had the bench warmers, so I was going to get to. We have all of our main guys we have Dustin, we have Steve, we have Lucas Mike, and Max. So they come up with a plan. And before that plan takes in full fruition, we have Billy. He comes in again.
But before Billy shows up,
he
goes to the Wheelers.
That was
a
moment very
with Mrs.
great
Wheeler.
Comedic moment that they find these little moments.
Cracking
it was just
so. To be continued.
Yeah, we'll see
where their relationship goes because Mr. Wheeler is not doing his job.
Yeah, he is. He's
not making
lacking.
Mrs. Wheeler happy.
That was a phenomenal.
So we'll see. I don't know. I think Billy might be a senior this year. We'll see. He's a full-grown man.
Yeah, Mike might have a new stepdad coming on the way. But that was a great moment. But as we see that the group's starting to come up with this plan and maybe divert the demons from the laboratory to distract them, we get Billy. He comes and finds Max, which I thought was a really nice moment, seeing Max stand up for herself and officially say, "These are my friends." She's officially a part of the group. And for Mike to see that, I think he's going to definitely accept her now because all season he was just like, no, I don't like you. You're not part of our crew. So that was a great moment for her. And it was really emotional too, that scene.
Yeah, it really was. And, also to see Steve, God, he enjoys getting his ass beat.
Yeah, I think between season 2 and 3, he needs to take some self-defense classes. We need you to learn how to fight for yourself,
I love Steve, but honey.
Without that bat, you need to learn how to use those hands, man.
Dustin, it was so cute. He's like, you put up a good fight. Got your ass beat, but you put up a good fight.
He's a great babysitter. We know that. He might be a great fighter, but he can watch some kids pretty well. So, but that was a great moment, seeing more elements of Billy, and he's going to be kind of our bad guy now, but maybe good guy next season. We'll see where that goes. But I thought that was a great moment. But the highlight of the episode was we get. Two highlights. We see Elle and Hopper finally get down to the moment. They close the gate, but just seeing that, I thought that particular scene where, Elle was reminiscing her training moments with grabbing that emotion, grabbing that anger, and really using it to her.
And just, she was very powerful. Yeah. And then, I think something else that was so key in this is, we had our crew as the bench warmers, but if they had not, it was mostly Mike. If he had not been, just said, this is what we're going to do, and that's that, things could have went very differently. Yeah. So, and, it was also seeing Mike and the crew down in the upside down or, tunnels, the tunnels, man, like, I was on edge. I was literally on edge. Yeah. Because I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, Elle, Hopper, no one else knows that they are in these tunnels.
Tunnel, you didn't know. It was a point where I'm telling more like, Steve's gonna die. Steve has to sacrifice himself. He's the babysitter of the year. He has to go out. So no, that didn't happen.
And Elliott's like, he doesn't have a point to be on the show anymore because Nancy's with Jonathan. Yeah. I was like, no, they could get him a new love interest.
Yeah, I thought Steve was going to be a goner, but that was a pretty cool moment to see Dustin teaming up with his little buddy Dart there. You knew that was kind of coming, that they was going to have to find some way to get out of the tunnel when he was blocking them out the way. So that was a nice little touch.
So I guess Dustin wasn't such an idiot for keeping
because he would have never,
they would have never had that
They would have been eating. Yeah. They would have been what he ate instead of for that candy bar. So on to the the big moment. They take out, they close the door. We see Elle using her powers to the full force, but then we get the best moment, which is we see all the kids be kids. We see them all the time making all these crazy adult type of decisions, but it was nice to see that moment of them going to a dance, having a great time. Even then, they found a way to make you feel emotional. When Dustin couldn't find someone to dance with, it was just like, Dustin's the coolest kid.
Mean.
Why
he's
these girls so mean
and he's
to him?
adorable. He had Steve Harrington's hair.
He had the swag.
That was
days.
so cute. I love that they
a
put
little
that
moment,
in.
yeah. And I think there was I don't know if you noticed, but they got a new cat now. There's a little kid in there, so the show just finds a way to make you smile, make you happy. And in that moment, when they're at the ball, it's the snowball dance, seeing the moment where Mike and Elle finally have their dance, and a little weird seeing kids.
I'm like, you guys don't need
little
a kiss.
peck, they could have just bumped fists, but whatever. We know what they were getting at. It still was good to see that they finally got that.
To see them back together, because they really do. They really care about each other. Definitely. They do. You can feel it.
Yeah, and I mean we
the
see
electricity.
As Dustin and Steve gives him advice. So we see that we still don't know where Nancy and Jonathan stand in the love triangle with Steve. We also Dr. Owens. He officially lets Hopper get custody of Jane Hopper, which is pretty cool. We get that nice little tag, so we'll see where his storyline goes out. We see that I would say throughout the season, one of the things I didn't really enjoy was the Jonathan and Nancy kind of venturing out and doing the whole thing for Barbara, but we see they put a cap on that. They revealed that they get the news out that they were a gas leak at a
which
curb.
I think was good. I'm so glad that Nancy did all that. I know at first we were a little bored with it, but and obviously we know it's not real, but it was nice to see that her parents were able to get that closure.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with you there. So we see that they put again, they close these, we were worried about all these storylines. There's still some storylines we're going to look into further down the road.
They did a good job. I was so nervous.
Like episode 6,
and especially,
all this stuff going on.
You had episode 6, and then it goes into chapter 7, and you're like, oh my
Elle
God,
focus.
Now we have more storylines. But they really did a very nice job
all wrapped together.
of putting it together. So,
and then I'm trying to think, what was another thing that they answered? We see that Max and Billy, they give each other a look like you better keep away from our friends. So we see where that storyline lands.
And then you see Joyce and Hopper kind of have a
little moment there, and they kind of again R.I.P. to Bob. They have a little moment where you see on the fridge hero Bob,
superhero.
So that was nice. And then
who knows? Jane and Will might be stepbrother and sister here soon.
We'll see. But wrapping up the episode, we see everyone's happy, everything's good space. Will, for crying out loud, Will might be officially a normal child. He hasn't been normal for almost 2 years, so I think everything's out of him. He got it out of his system. So Will, I was glad to see that.
But I don't know. In those tunnels, something sneezed on Dustin. So
same with Hopper. We'll see. I think they're gonna not play on that card next season, being someone possessed. But we see the camera panning out. And we see that the shadow monster is looking at him. Either looking at 11 or looking at the crew and whole, just thinking, how am I going to get these kids? I'm going to find some way to get them. So, this was a nice, happy moment. But they're letting you know there's still a big threat ahead. So, again, we'll just go into our final thoughts of the season overall. Gosh, what a season. I mean, from season 1, it was hard. I know some people were like, oh, they should just leave it season 1 where it ends, just a perfect ending. Because, Will spits the thing out, but you can just leave it to your imagination that it was a dream, or he was dealing with just being in that world so long. But I think that it was a great thing for them to continue that storyline and give us the great season that they did.
And you know what? When you have a good story, when you have good writers, when you have good directors, and when you have a good cast,
not even that great
not?
Characters. Great cast and just characters. Because what you were just touching on, when you can have the best writing, you can have the best directors. It can be the most beautiful thing in the world. But when you have characters you don't care about, it makes everything kind of just seem bland and kind of boring.
And it's even like for us, it's hard for us to pick a favorite, like who we like the most. I mean, you really do care a little bit about everyone.
Time,
so even Max, I mean, we don't get a ton of her, but you like her. Billy, I mean, you're just you just really care about these characters, and if you are able to have such a cohesive team, and it's just like, why not just keep going forward with it? Obviously they're going to make a lot of money, and if you're going to make a lot of money, then go make a lot of money, right? So I was happy with it. I remember when that whole debate was, why are they doing a season 2? I wasn't really sure what they were going to do, but I felt like they did a nice job. And it's so cool. I feel like these kids are like my nieces and nephews. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are just sprouting up.
Which, I mean, that too, I was going to get into our predictions for next season. That's
going to be something we have
to address. No, I seriously, from last year to this year, even Lucas, he's 16 years old, and everyone, so they're going to have to, and I think they're smart enough, and I think they have addressed this, that they're not going to play it with us as an audience to think that they're still 12 years old. They're going to address the fact that these kids are growing up. So it might be a bit of a kind of off-putting at first, but we might not. It might be 2 years later that the storyline, not 2 years later from the show, we're going to get it next year, but I think they're going to address that they're growing up and they might be in high school.
Honestly, I think with the way that they ended this season, you can believe that that there can be some time that'll pass before anything picks up again.
Exactly.
So, I loved it. I cannot wait for season 3.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really loved about this is with the first season, when it was released in July.
It was in the summer, middle of summer. Yeah.
And what I loved about this is that they put it right around Halloween. Perfect. It was just so perfect. Yeah. So I hope that they do it again, because it really is a horror show. And you have those moments where it's like genuinely scary, and I just loved I really did, and I'm just so glad that they had it come out around Halloween.
And I'm not going to pose the question. I was initially going to ask you season 1 and season 2. I think you got to let it sit. You got to let it marinate.
They're different,
Yeah, they are.
It's
you can appreciate each one, each season. Yeah,
differently. So they both were great.
Yeah, this show just even put more proof into why this is one of my favorite shows. Game of Thrones and Stranger Things are definitely my 2 favorite shows on television right now. We got to wait for both of them. Game of Thrones might not be out for another 10 years. But
you know what? At least with Stranger Things, you can just binge it if you want. And once you wait that full year or whatever it is, at least you can just watch it straight. And I think for next year, we will literally just the day that it comes out, we're going to just take off for the next 48 hours, and we're just going to sit on the couch, no pants, have a bunch of snacks, and have our dog with us. Even our dog was intrigued. I mean, he's just was staring at it. So, we're definitely going to call it a vacation day, shut our phones off.
National holiday when
it is a holiday. Yeah. So, I'll say that's the one thing I would do differently next year.
For sure. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in and watching our review on, 1 through 9. We want to know what you guys thought about the season. Some of you guys probably have already seen it 3 or 4 times as far as watching the entire season again. But we were happy you guys tuned in. We would love for you guys to continue the conversation on our social media accounts. Follow us on Instagram. We're at Movie Files, as well as on Twitter at Movie Files Live. So again, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again shortly. Hey guys, if you guys enjoyed that video, go ahead and hit the like button, the share button for us. We really appreciate that. As well as if you guys want to check out some other cool things we have our movie reviews right here, and we have our TV reviews right here. And then once you guys check those out, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right above our heads right there. We really appreciate that, guys.